Hello everyone, so I got a bit of a different backdrop today. I have to shoot this one on the fly, but I just finished watching episode 1 of Disney Plus's Loki. So of course this stars Tom Hiddleston as the titular character Loki again after the events of Avengers Endgame, where he was able to steal the tesseract from the Avengers after the events of the first Avengers movie and escape from being put in the Asgardian prison in Thor the Dark World, or the second Thor as we know it. And yeah, just basically escape his fates from the rest of the MCU as we know it. So without further ado, let me get into basically this is going to be my review and also a discussion and just kind of my hopes for the rest of the season and where it goes. So without further ado, let's get into it. So as I said, this takes place right after Loki is able to take the Tesseract, and this episode, like I said, is about 51 minutes. It is the first of 6 episodes this season, so it's going to follow kind of the same episode pattern as Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and it's going to air every Wednesday on Disney+. And yeah, so pretty much right away, Loki is captured by the TVA, or the Time Variance Authority, which is headed by a bunch of different people. But the main one, or I should say, there's soldiers, there's kind of office people, there's a judge, but the most important character in the TVA that we get to meet is Owen Wilson's character, and he basically plays an agent who's responsible for going out into the field and making certain that the timelines are being kept up to standard and no one is, like I said, just breaking away from the timeline. It does follow the exact same thing that we got from the Ancient One in Avengers Endgame, when she's explaining to Hulk just all the different timelines and how if it branches off, it can lead to the destruction. And basically, the TVA was created because there was a war between all the multiverses and it almost destroyed everything as we know it. So they created one pure timeline, and the TVA is there to make certain that nothing or no one, so Loki in this case, directs themselves away from this one pure timeline and causes another war or just the absolute destruction of everything as we know it. And Owen Wilson is put into the fields to, like I said, just stop that from happening. But recently he's been losing a ton of his agents to, we're not certain what. There's hints that it could be Mephisto, even though, of course, the creators of this series have said that there is no Mephisto in this show. But I mean, when you watch the first episode, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's just kind of like a lot that they could do with this concept, which gets me really, really excited. So a lot of this first episode is like a really good character dissection of Loki. We don't get to see him bouncing around from timeline to timeline to timeline too much, but basically, a lot of it is just Owen Wilson trying to convince the TVA not to reset him back in the timeline, not to fully kill him off, to recruit him, to help him figure out what's happening with all of his agents, and basically use him as an agent in the fields to stop whatever variant is going off killing his men. And he does this through a lot of ways of, like I said, just really dissecting Loki, asking him, does he really believe that this path of conquest that he wants for Midgards, all the 9 realms, of course, space after that, killing trillions and trillions of people, is this all really worth it? Is this truly what Loki wants and who he is? And he gets to look back on kind of like his greatest hits and his greatest misses throughout the entire MCU, see a future that he doesn't know yet, that of course we've seen throughout the rest of the MCU. And there's just a lot of really good emotional moments, and it's just really good character study this episode. And like I said, it's really dialogue heavy and just focused on explaining who the TVA is and who Loki can be and who he truly thinks he is at this point in time. Because, I mean, we haven't gotten any of the character developments from anything that came after the first Avengers movie with Loki yet. And yeah, it was just, like I said, a really good character, really, really good character dissection that I do want more of, and I know that we're going to get. But it was just really fantastic to see Tom Hiddleston come and play, or just bring so much emotional depth to the character, which we've seen him do before, but nothing quite like this. Almost having to go back in time to replay the character and rethink all his motivations. He did a fantastic job in this episode, and so did Owen Wilson. He's not your typical Owen Wilson goofy role that you're thinking of. He's really serious and smart and funny, courageous. There's a lot that he brings to this role, and it was just they already have really good chemistry together, and I'm excited to see how they work together throughout the rest of this series. There's a lot of humor too, and just a lot of really cool things that they do in the TVA, because time, magic, everything works differently there, where magic almost has no effect. So even like some of the most powerful objects and weapons that we've seen in the MCU thus far would have no effect in the TVA. It's kind of funny because like there's so many like huge crazy, like in the MCU, just a lot of objects that are huge, like entire storylines and movies centered around, and they're almost like they could be used as paperweights here in the TVA. And it was just really funny seeing Loki react to just the laws of all of this. And yeah, it was just, like I said, kind of mind-bending and funny, and there's so many things in this that were just really emotional, heart-pounding, funny, intelligence, like lore heavy, just a lot that they were able to unpack in this first episode, and it gets me really excited for the rest that they can do with this. And there's just so much potential because, like I said, they're literally playing with time itself, so the possibilities for the show could be endless, and I'm just really excited to see where they're able to further push Loki's character, push the TVA, all the other characters, and like I said, time itself, the MCU itself. They can do anything that they want with this show, really. And yeah, the possibilities are endless, and I'm just super excited to see what they're able to do with it, because this was a very, very well done first episode. Yeah, there's just a lot of really cool gadgets that the TVA uses, and just a great character dissection of Loki, which I wasn't expecting too much of, and it was just fantastic to finally see that. So with all of this taken together, I want to give the first episode of Loki on Disney Plus an 8.5 out of 10, and I'm certain that it could just keep growing ratings wise from there, because it was just a fantastically put together episode. So if you watched the first episode of Loki, please let me know your thoughts of it in the comments down below, and just what you're most excited for the rest of this series. And of course, you can, if you like what you see here, if you like this video, you can check out all my other TV reviews, movie reviews, everything that I do on this channel through my playlist down below, and I also link some up top here. Like what you see on the channel, subscribe, turn the little ringer on if you want to know when I upload new videos. In the description, there's also a link to my Twitch, which is where you can basically check out everything that I do video game-wise, and there's also a link down there to the Media Mountain, which is my Discord, where we talk about movies, video games, TVs, comics, really just everything that's awesome in this world. So you can definitely join that amazing community and help make it even more amazing than it is already. And of course, I'm excited every single Wednesday for the next 5 weeks for all the rest of the episodes of Loki to premiere on Disney Plus. And yeah, I'm just super pumped for it, guys.